Live streaming is on.
Okay, welcome everybody. Let's start. So we are continuing. I think we'll try to finish this IMDG today. We are left with some packing instructions and marking, labeling, packaging. So let's continue with what where we left yesterday. So today we are starting with carriage of solid dangerous goods in the tank. So like some bulk, normally solid goods are carried in bulk carrier, but sometimes we also carry them in tanks or containers. So if we are carrying them, we have to make sure about their melting point in some portable tanks, because if it is too much heated inside, it should not start evaporating or something. So class 4, if you remember, flammable solids or flammable liquids, flammable solids, and then oxygen, ox, oxygen peroxides like that, have no subsidy risk other than that of class 6.1 or class 8 are in packing group 2 or 3. So of course, because these are solids, they don't need very high level packing of 1, but group 2 or group 3 as per their hazards, those types of tanks and packings we need. Portable tanks used for transport of these solid substances above their melting point shall conform to the provisions of instructions given in part 4 of this code, and the max part 4 is there in volume 1 of packing instructions. The maximum degree of filling shall not exceed 95%. That is for all the tanks. Okay. Solid substances in bulk shall be transported in bulk containers conforming to the bulk container instruction identified by the letters BK in column 10 of dangerous goods list. So you have dangerous goods list in volume 2, and in that column 10 of the container transport unit, there it will be mentioned if you need a bulk container. If it is mentioned, then you can carry it in bulk container. So there are different types of bulk containers. First is one. So if it is one, then it's an open container. In sheeted bulk container is permitted. If it is type 2, then you have to carry in closed bulk container. So there is an exception also. Same way, if it is not assigned a bulk container code in column 10, then and you want to carry it in a bulk container, then you have to take approval from the class. You have to apply for a interim, like a provisional certificate, provisional approval. We have to apply for temporary beans. If it is not given in dangerous goods list, then you have to carry for a short voyage or something as an exception. Substances which may become liquid at temperatures likely to be encountered during transport. So if a solid is becoming liquid and it's melting, then it's a problem, because it will roll with the rolling pitching, and it can move itself and damage the other containers and cause damage. So therefore they are not permitted in bulk containers. So as per the properties, it will be given that you can carry in bulk containers or not. Then bulk containers shall be sift proof and shall be so closed that none of the contents can escape under the normal condition of transport, including the effect of vibration or by changes of temperature, humidity, or pressure. Obviously, at whatever temperature, pressure, or weather we face or vibration we face, the cargo should not come out. Bulk solids shall be loaded into bulk containers and evenly distributed in a manner that minimizes movement that could result in damage to the container or leakage of the dangerous goods. So, obviously, the damage from or leakage should be as minimum as possible. And if there is a venting device fitted for the ventilation of solid bulk cargo, like we need, then it should be clear and operable, obviously. So you can see these are some cargoes, and the tank provision are given here. Tank provision 2, if we go to that, we'll see what type of tank is required. Tank provision 9. So different cargoes have different, as per UN, what are the tank requirements, and as per other provisions, what are the tank provisions. So this is a list, like you see here. If you see noxious corrosive liquid, so not otherwise specified. Or if you see this perchloric acid. So perchloric acid as per UN tank is 7, and as per the other provisions, tank provisions, it is 2. So if you see 7, portable tank instruction also permitted T8, T9, T10. So for after 7, whatever are there, all types of tanks you can load it into. So you see here, it's a flexible bulk container, IBCs, integrated bulk container, big bag. So this is a small integrated bag, which vary in size, shape of material construction, intended for mechanical handling. You can use by forklift or carriage. Unless specified, designated for purpose, lifting from the top is not permissible. So you have to see what kind of bags and how they are permitted to be lifted or handled. Then multi-element gas container, you see, this is a container and this has many cylinders of gases. So multi-element gas container, this is one of also the type of containment system. Different variations, but all are assemblies that can be moved as one piece onto and off vehicles. So generally you will have one gas, but you can have different gases, different cargoes also in different bottles, transported as one unit. Then this is a fixed tank. So sometimes you will see on container ships, you will carry trucks also with the tanker or tanks or containers. Fixed tank, this is one of the commonest way of carrying liquids, gases, and some solids, powders, granules. So for this, the permission will be given fixed tank. Then tank container or tank container. This is widely used for gases or liquid, or very widely used for international trading of many dangerous substances. So now we will go for the packaging of CTUs, container transport units, quickly. So, so the packing of CTUs, although you know that it has been reduced, the physical hazards, it reduces a lot of hazards because uh, like today we had NYK company in our college. So NYK is one of the biggest container transporters. But during COVID, it had to sell almost many of its assets and containers. So container is like in today's era, especially during COVID, there was so many shortage of things, commodities, and because of that there was a high demand, and containers were in very high demand, and uh, shipping costs and problems went up, and it was very hard struggling period for everyone. So containers are the biggest transport units, and biggest, if containerization stops, it's a very big blockage and hassle to everyone, affecting everyone. Like nowadays, there was strikes in US, labor strike, and if if it would have continued for some time, it would have affected all the parts of the world because so many container and transport is going on from US. So that's why they immediately next day did a meeting and postponed it, and did some actions, whatever they could, to raise their salary and labor rights. So, container transport is a very crucial part of the merchant navy, and in why? Because it reduces so many physical hazards, and you just put the things in container and transport. It is very mostly quite safe than other transports, and it's in small quantity because nowadays, especially after COVID, so much demand in online shopping. There are so many small parcels, so it's quite easy to handle and cater for user specific, customer specific uh, items. So that's why container transport units are very, very highly in demand, and that's why it's very crucial. So physical hazards it takes away, and the cargoes if they are exposed, improper packing of cargoes into such situations or lack of proper blocking, bracing, securing may be the cause of personal injury when they are handled or transported. In addition, serious and cost damage may occur to the cargo or equipment. So it's to be very very like properly handled, approved. That's why we discuss in marking that it should be properly approved. Even after that, main thing is the shore people and the ship people, everyone should make sure it's nicely inspected. There's no damage, no leakage of any cargo, properly sealed. And these transport units, the container transport units, especially for danger, should be of good strength and should withstand stresses of the weather, obviously. So these are some definitions which we'll just go through the main ones. So there is a international convention for safe containers. So these are designed as per that, even offshore or onshore, and that's why they are called cargo transport units. Under that, we have like freight container, the normal standard containers, and swap body, and like vehicles also we saw just now. Trucks, rail wagons can also be used as transport unit, any transport unit, or some similar units. So freight container is a normal standard container which has an article of transport equipment that is a permanent character. Permanently, it is used for transporting on the ship and strong enough to be capable of repeated use. So these are the definitions. IBC intermediate bulk container. So it's a rigid or flexible. It can be in both types. It has capacity of more at least 3 meter cube for solids or liquids, and you can handle mechanically. It can handle stress. So maximum payload, which is marked on the CTU, we have seen. So these all the markings should be there. What type of packing is there? Unpacking is there. Requirements of CTUs will be given there. Then maybe sometimes you overload it, like you have to. Maximum is 95%, but then stack weight, tear weight, gross weight, everything is given. Should not exceed the weights. Should not exceed the stack weight. All those things. So it should not be overpacked. Responsible, but there should be a responsible person, of course, on ship. The duty officer and chief officer on shore, the surveyor or whoever is handling the port operations takes all decision for this and responsibility. And he should have the knowledge, experience for this purpose. That's why everywhere you need experienced people. Then storage of this container means positioning of packages, IBCs, containers, swap bodies, tank containers, vehicles, or other CTUs on board ships in warehouse and sheds of terminals. So, so there is a swap body where you can change, remove the body of from the container, and directly parcel can be transported. So it's not attached to any frame or wheels. It's just like a liftable parcel. Then unit load. These are some. We'll just skip the definitions. So vented packages should be packed with vents in an upright position. Obviously, vented packets, the vent should be upright, and the drums of dangerous cargo should always be stored in upright position. Heavy cargo should not be placed on top of lighter cargoes, and liquids should not be placed on top of solids. So this common sense, like heavy cargoes down, light cargoes up, liquid up, solids down, as per the weight segregation to avoid leakages and damages. And the cargo should be uniformly distributed, obviously as per the weight and stability, port, starboard, forward, aft, shaft, trim, stress, SFBM. We have to take care of complete stability. This is common points. marking, and so you have to always place the container so that your markings and packaging placarding is also labels are always visible. Now you have to lock a container door shall be such that in an emergency they can be opened without delay. Irrelevant marking labels placards shall be removed or masked before packing a CTU. So if it is the two containers are not compatible, obviously they should be stored separately. And then there are freight containers which are made for class 1 explosives like magazines, range of wood. So they should be fitted with a closed boarded floor and shall have a non-metallic lining. So this is a requirement for transporting explosive. It should be made of wood. Now, if you are storing some cargo transporter units in some ro-ro vessels, also we load containers and cars. So then there are special provisions to take care of that for its lashing, securing, and inspection as per the IMO guidelines. So chassis like the car wheels, they should be kept static. Same way, you don't have like you have the eyes generally for putting the twist locks, and otherwise you have to secure it properly as per the cargo securing manual and the construction lashing arrangement in that ship. Then special consideration should be given to the securing of the road vehicles stored in positions. So main issue is the big trucks because they can move quite uh, damagingly in rough weather, rolling, pitching. So they should be always stored in position where they may be exposed to additional forces. So you can normally we will store them fore and aft, and we should choke their vehicles wheels with wedges and belts and choring and lashing. Then if you have heavy vehicles, diesel engines, so they should not be left in gear during the voyage. Okay. So bearing of the tank top should be taken care of. Should not be less than 100 kilonewton and should be made of material having suitable elongation characteristics. So it should have a elasticity also the material and very nicely lashed and tightened, and there is a way of lashing with the vertical and horizontal plane with 30 to 60 degree, 30 and 60 degree, and the loading of each vehicle shall be as per the responsible officer. The closing arrangements of and opening between ro-ro cargo spaces and machinery shall be such as to avoid possibility of dangerous vapors. So if you have any tank trainers, avoid any vapors because you have all the, especially you are loading in ro-ro ship with lot of other cars, and all cars try to have minimum fuel, but some minimum amount of fuel is there. So all our flammable cargo is there, and if it is a very flammable liquid or chemical oil which has flash point less than 23 centigrade should not be allowed in closed ro-ro spaces. So you have to see as per dangerous goods list, seeing the cargo, if it can be stored in ro-ro ship or not, and if it is can be, how much, what is the segregation requirement. Then mechanically operated refrigeration or heating equipment fitted to any CTU shall not be operated during the voyage when stored in a closed ro-ro space. So all the heating equipment and refrigeration should not be fitted to a situ and shall not be operated during the voyage and stored in closed rooms. Make sure that if it is a refrigeration container, temperature has to be maintained whatever is the set and required temperature. Or if you have any heating equipment, heavy machinery, it should not be close to a CTU if it is not compatible. And segregation has to be from all as per the requirement of dangerous goods list. And in these formats, away from separated by complete compartment, separated longitudinally. To consider weather and contain how many container movements. So every port you have to discharge some container and load some container. So and during the voyage there will be different stresses and factors. Shore gantry will lifting up. All as per all those things, you have to manage the loading. And during the port also, how will be the climate and what effect it will have on the containers. These are the different examples. If you see for class 4 and 8, the containers units are stored together. So these are very small parcels inside a container and they are packed and lashed properly. And then they will lock this container door and seal it. So same, there are so many packages, acids, bases loaded together. So we should have idea either what is the UN number of the cargo and are they compatible or not. Basically, it's mostly inside the containers checked from the shore, but as per IMDG, what are the requirements we should know. So this is a wrong storing because these two cargoes are not compatible and they should be stored at least 3 meters, but they are stored close together. So this is improper storage. Then class 3 and class 8 are not supposed to be loaded with class 5.1, but they have loaded by mistake. So this can cause fire in case of leakage. Again, mixture of cargoes. So you see, these drums, they are not lashed properly inside the container, which can cause movement of the containers and damage. And there are so many bad storage of cargoes inside the containers. These are the examples. So many void space in the middle. The containers are not marked or labeled. No dunnage, insufficient dunnage or lashing. Drum is damaged. Dangerous cargo not secured. Cargo secured prior to shipment. Drums are not stored properly. Drums should be hermetically sealed as per the requirement. Gas sealed. Spill production. So if cargo is spilled all the floor already. Dented, ripped, open packaging. Undeclared waste. So these are the photos of damaged and improper loading segregation and damages. Leaking containers. And because of the leaks, accidents happen. That's why IMDG code is made. Leaking, shifting, braking. Damages move because of the movement not securing properly. Labeling, marking also damaged. So these are the 6 movements. And the C is adventurous, but we have to make sure the proper lashing of cargo. These are the different incidents. Engine, Pennsylvania. Okay. And the last one is, as we saw, the marking, labeling, and placarding. So this is quite important. So you should allow the marking and labeling as per the safety for the safety and health purposes, easily identifiable, that you should not have these kind of damages, especially even in case of accidents. You should be able to identify the goods like we saw just now, because that's in case of damage we need more importantly this information, that what type of cargo it is, what are the hazards, what precautions to take, what are the emergency procedures for this cargo. So that we will know by the placarding and labeling easily. Is it a marine pollutant or not? Then what are the requirements for marine pollutant as per Amarpol? How to dispose it or give it to reception facilities? So we should know why it is very important to do marking, labeling, placarding to avoid any incidents and handle the incidents cargo, how to treat them. Then we should know the different types of marking label as per different classes and different packings, overpacks that we'll see now. So of course, proper shipping name, UN number, and pollutant mark, class number, everything should be there on the container. Then placards is big labels on CTUs, including the warning what about the cargoes. So there are requirements for marking. It should be readable, legible, displayed with contrast color, surviving at least 3 months immersion at sea. This is important. For till 3 months, if the container is gone in the water, it should survive all the labeling, marking, placarding, and it should not mix up with other containers. If it is for salvage, it should be written salvage. Marine pollutant shall be durably marked. So proper marking that it is a marine pollutant or not, and the packaging size should be 100 mm by 100 mm at least. And if there is an accepted quantity, there's exceptions in case of you need to exceptionally load the cargo. So that marking should be there. What is the primary hazard, primary class, size of the mark 100 mm by 100 mm. Then labels. Labels are the danger label, the class labels. Then the package should contain dangerous goods, should be durably identified with distinctive labels. Dangerous goods possessing a low degree of danger may be exempted from labeling provided they are marked with word class identifying its class. Labels affixed as above should be such that the labels will still be identifiable after 3 months and shall be located on the same surface of the package near proper shipping name. And it should covered, not be covered or obscured by any place. Then there should be labels of primary risk. There is a primary class and secondary class. Primary risk and subsidiary risk of many cargoes. and format is 74 by 105 rectangles, and it should be displayed on both the opposite sides. Empty uncleaned or packaging or unit includes IBC for class 7 and other dangerous goods. So if it is an overpack, how will you mark? Every individual package in the unit load must also be correctly marked and labeled with proper shipping name. If it is a marine protein, you should mark it marine protein. If it is overpack, you should mark it overpack. Then the marking should be on both the opposite sides, on each sides. And for if it is a limited quantity cargo, if it is loaded in quite small limit, the requirements are different. The UN number should be marked in a diamond, like in place of the class mark as per the class. And normally you don't have the proper shipping name. Inner packages do not need to be marked or labeled because the outer package should not be opened in transit. So you can inside, if there is no marking, no problem, but outside the marking should be there. So that we have to see. Then what is placarding? Placarding requirement for container units is shipping containers or dangerous goods in limited quantities need not be placarded, but they should display either limited quantities, okay, or just a minute. Yeah. The different damages cargo. Marine pollutant has a different symbol, but they have. So sometimes you have to also check the symbols and class marks are correct in your group. No label, nor marks. So just a cargo is directly put in the container. Then size of the label is very small, less than 10 centimeter. No proper shipping name and incorrect marine pollutant mark. Unknown class label, they've just put anything. Labels and marks from earlier DG content still visible. So previously they were loading some cargo and that mark is still there on the container. So flammable solids, that this is the type of mark. Wrong UN numbers are used, wrong marking, wrong labeling, wrong placarding. Container number or owner's name is wrong. Then if it is limited, it is written limited quantity, whatever quantity size is written, that only you can put inside, but you have to make sure you secure it properly. Less than 4/10 of one UN number located in CTU. So if proper loading is not done, there's not much enough profit. So you have to make sure that everything keeps moving. Limited quantities, not less than 65 mm. So if it's a corrosive material like sulfuric acid, it will be marked corrosive. Like this is proper certificate is given here. Okay. So the last part is the storage and segregation we've already done. Away separated by a complete compartment, hold from, and separated by intervening complete compartment or hold. So there are different segregations. We'll go through quickly. If this it's incompatible, they should be segregated. So different classes are there. So there are 5 storage categories: away from, separated by a compartment, from, separated by a complete compartment or hold from, and then explain the requirements regarding storage, living quarters, undeveloped film, foodstuffs, and marine pollutants. Describe the special requirements applicable to the storage of explosive. For explosive, you need magazines. So this is requirement as per storage and segregation. So there are so many requirements for packaging with CTUs, freight containers, and then CTUs, ro-ro ships, shipborne barges, and in between bulk and chemical, there are some dangerous goods in package form also that we load in the as per the segregation table. So there we have divided it into 2 groups. One is cargo or passenger ships carrying not more than 25%, or and in group 2 the passenger ships which exceed this limitation. It should not be like there is one where group 1 where you should not exceed the limitations 1 passenger per 3 meters of length overall in a ship of 20 or 25 passengers, whichever is less or greater. So category A, group 1 is on the deck, applicable to on deck cargoes and under deck cargoes. Group 2, on deck or under deck. So which category you can load on deck and under deck, it's as per the storage and segregation category. Then all should be having a maintain a proper distance, clear walkways. Dangerous goods should be stored under the deck. Dangerous goods in package form are packed so as to withstand up to 3.0 meters of storage height. So what are the height permitted for that container? May be storage height is 3 meters. Drum containing dangerous goods should always be stored in upright position. These are the storage requirements of clean, unclean, then near the away from the living quarters or not. So these are the different requirements: away from, separated by a complete compartment. So again, it is saying should be properly latched, secured. Then solution of mixtures containing one or more dangerous, non-dangerous substances and a dangerous substance identified by name in this code. Shipper under a generic or NOS entry shall be stored in accordance with the storage category assigned to this. So you have already in the storage table. If you want to make an exception or something, you have to collect the evidence papers and talk to DG. And then special requirements for class 1 goods. There are 15 categories. Storage category 4 is listed below as an example. Then what is the purpose of storage of goods belonging to class 1 and defined in volume 2 section 7.1.7. So you have to do Stowing as per this cargo transport unit magazine secure to the ship structure. Magazine storage type A, C, and special storage. So in the last, if the goods are incompatible, they have to be segregated as per the segregation table. And if by mistake you have loaded dangerous goods which are not compatible, then try to avoid that and grade the incompatibility so that you are more aware. And if the segregation requirement is from the secondary risk, the label should be as per that. Or normally, like people exchange that's whatever. Finally, everything should be good. The following table shows the general provision for segregation between the various classes of dangerous goods. So this is the table. These are all the 9 classes here and 9 classes here, and there's up parts. And can we load it like explosives can be loaded with explosives or not allowed. It's not written. So at which each cargo it is allowed, which is not allowed. Separated longitudinally away from separated by a complete compartment, separated longitudinally by a complete compartment or hold from. So we all have seen these types of segregations. Then segregation with container transport units. So these goods should not be carried in the same units. It should be stored not in a. It should be stored in a conventional manner. Whatever cargoes are and containers are available. So how do you segregate after first they have to know which class suits which cargo or not, and for that there should be a safe space where you can interact freely, means a distance not less than 6 meters for and aft, a distance not less than 2.5 meters, 2.5 meters. And segregation of freight containers on board container ships is governed by this table, you can see. So which one to follow, it's given here. You can just mention 1, 2, 3, 4 there. Then segregation also is required in barges or any small ships. They are called lash vehicles, light dredge, light anchor, ship handling. Ship-borne barges is loaded with different IMDG cargoes. Also, sometimes they are loaded that is packed. So same requirements, segregation. So all this, as we saw, this should be stored far away. The wrong classes, incompatible classes stored together. So any questions till now? Sahib,
Yes, sir. Yes.
any questions?
No, sir. Things are clear. So I just uh, want to know that, sir, if the things that we are not stored, that we are not checking once they are loading the containers, no, sir. So if something
Yeah.
happens on the discharge port, are we liable for that?
No, depends. I, finally, there is something called Hague-Visby rules, or there is liability convention. So that takes care of any damage of cargo. Like the carrier in most of the rules are exempted from any damage or liability physically or uh, what is criminal in a criminal record or in a financial record till the time he can prove that he did what at his utmost seamanship, he took all the care, and rest he couldn't manage anything. Then the question will come that if these containers were not lashed or like that, then why it was loaded or why it was not informed, something like that. So the containers are mostly sealed. So you don't have the right to check it. It's all done in the shore and should be done in the shore. And there are not one, two, there are at many places. The shipper is checking and then it is scanned. Then it comes in the port customs and then uh, again the shipper is checking and then once placed on board, then once it is discharged, again it is checked. So you have to make sure that all these uh, checks are done. Then you can't do much. If you only thing you can see that if it is sealed or not. It's like an Amazon parcel. You cannot just open and return it. It has to be paid and then returned. There is a separate policy. If a container is leaking or some things are there, you can return immediately there. You can, if you see, immediately you can ask them to offload or not allowed to be loaded. But once it is the ship has sailed, then it becomes your issue. So general inspection also has to be done from outside, but inside it's sealed, so you can't do anything. If it is an open container and all, then it's mostly for local voyages. Then you have to inspect properly. Okay.
Yes, sir. Understood.
So the documentation here you see, we have studied shipper declaration and dangerous goods manifest. And then if there are any exemptions, it will be there in the dangerous goods manifest. It is salvage package, limited quantity, or whatever type of cargo, self-reactive, whatever is the class, quantity, and capacity, aerosol, special provisions. All things about that container and cargo will be mentioned in the certificate. Okay. And declaration, shipper's declaration. I declare that all the contents are packed and accurate with proper shipping name, classified, package, marked, labeled, placarded in all respects in proper condition of transport according to the applicable laws. Okay. So these are the different
Yes, sir.
things it will be mentioned in the dangerous goods list. Special manifest for marine pollutants, weathering certificates for the lashing, marking, labeling, placarding, multimodal transport is allowed or not. So this is the examples of dangerous goods or declaration or shipper declaration. What type of cargo, flammable liquid, how many drums, quantity. This is DGD or and CPC for containers, goods. The shipper declaration is there. Proper shipping names should be there. These are the wrong versions. This is the format. And these are dangerous goods manifest. Cargo, class, number, marpol, type of container requirement, quantity, container number, storage position, bay route here. Okay. So we'll finish for today.
Yes, sir.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. So from tomorrow we start the Roro next topic. Or if anybody has any other specific questions or topic, you can ask. Thank you.
भाई काट दिया सारी लाइट काट दिया